You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph, and today, as you guys have already met, my brother over here, he's going to be joining us today on the pod. His name is Fabio, by the way, or
AKA
the lookalike Jimmy G, as some people call him. But we're going to be talking about the 49ers pretty much in this episode, week one. He was at the game in week one, so he's going to kind of give us his perspective about how that went down. And the both of us are going to be at the game tomorrow in Santa Clara, so we're going to preview, what we kind of expect to happen in that game or what we hope to happen in that game. So, Fabio, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Steph. Thanks for bringing me back. Honored to once again, be co-host as we head into the Niners season opener tomorrow. Very excited about that.
Yeah, very exciting times, especially I think for us because we have somewhat of a tradition. I think you started the tradition, a solo tradition, to attend all of the 49ers home openers. And, you took me to my very first 49ers game. And so it kind of just went on from there. And I've also, kind of piggybacked on your tradition of attending. And so it's been somewhat of a, bonding experience for us to, go to 49ers home openers. And let's see here. I got some pictures. I got some throwbacks for you guys really quick. So right over here, this is my very first game. He took me to this game. It was a birthday present, I believe. And this was in, I believe, was it 2012?
No, this was.
Sorry. This was.
I believe it was 2010. No.
Hold on. I have the actual date. This was Harbaugh's first first game as a head coach. Yeah. So I know I did a 49ers or this week in 49ers history on that a couple episodes ago, and I'm trying to remember the date. It was 2000. Oh no.
Nope. That's not it.
2015. Oh my gosh.
Well, let's leave that up for your viewers to maybe plug in. Oh, there it goes right there. 2011.
It was September 11th, 2011. Jim Harbaugh's first game. Yes, thank you, Callie.
There you go.
Jim Harbaugh's first game as a head coach, and I hold this game, I think about this game very fondly because just the Harbaugh, it started off that era of finally having some quality, football being played by this team. And also the 49ers beat the Seahawks. It was actually the beginning of that rivalry pretty much. And, Harbaugh got the first punch, but maybe not quite the last laugh in that one. But, some good times. You remember anything from that season or that game?
Very, very exciting game. How about this? Ted Ginn Jr. ran back two. I believe, one was a kickoff return, one was a punt return. The punt return was the one that sealed the game, but it was a game that went down to, in Seattle and 49er rivalry fashion, went down to the final quarter. And the boys treated us to a great, season opener at Candlestick. Like you said, Steph, very memorable game. And it was an honor really to introduce you to, home games at Candlestick. And I'm glad that this game kind of served as the pivotal moment of, you really becoming a faithful, and really kind of, it kind of kicked off the love and the passion that you have for 49er football.
Yeah, definitely. And for Callie here, who said that the 49ers memorabilia behind us is dope. I mean, this is his man cave right here. And if you haven't seen the video of his man cave, we actually filmed a video. We did a tour of it, and that was about 2 months ago.
Early
almost.
August. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like early. Okay, so like a month ago that we did that episode, and we kind of looked at his entire thing. So if you want to check that out after this, he's got some great stuff over here. So I definitely suggest that.
Appreciate the love, Callie.
Yeah. And then we got over here. What tell us about this game. So, because I see that you are holding the farewell, like the candlestick final season flag. So this is 2013, and I'm wearing the Kaepernick jersey that's pretty much goated at this point.
This was the year following their Super Bowl run. You know, if you remember, they went to the Super Bowl in 2012, and this was the following year, home opener versus the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers was in town. Clay Matthews at the time was one of the premier defenders for the Green Bay Packers. And I don't know if you remember this, but there was a little bit of a feud between Colin Kaepernick and Clay Matthews. Yes. Matthews actually hit him.
I remember that one.
Kind of late.
I remember that was dirty.
It was dirty. It was dirty. But you know, Clay Matthews is a tough guy, and it's just a part of football. But as Kaepernick was running out of bounds, Clay kind of, you know, Clay Matthews had a little bit of an extra knock, beyond the white lines there. And the Niners did win this game. They ended up winning this game. And I believe this was the game where Anquan Boldin made his debut as a 49er. Yeah. I believe this was the game. And if I'm correct, Boldin had an amazing game, amazing 49er debut here. But yeah, another memorable game. And I think, like you said, these pictures, I love looking at them because they're great throwbacks of just me and you, and how football and how Niner games in general can just bring family and friends together. It's a good reminder of that. And we're keeping the tradition going. Yep. Tomorrow, we'll be in attendance, for the season opener at home versus the Seahawks tomorrow. So looking forward for that one, and hopefully another victory.
Right. So somewhat full circle, right? The first game that I went to was, the home opener against the Seahawks in 2011. And now, we're going to this one on Sunday. So very excited. I wanted to go back to this comment, though, that the AG Fox said. He said, your brother could pass for Jimmy G's cousin. Believe it or not, he gets that all the time. So every time we see that anyone says that he looks like Jimmy G,
it's an inside joke.
Yeah, we just sort of laugh at this point. It's hilarious. AG Fox says, didn't Alex Boone or Staley come over to crack skulls on Matthews after that hit? I think it was Staley.
It almost started a little scuffle. I remember that. Yeah, great memory there. AG Fox, very good memory.
Yeah. So, okay, we will talk about the 49ers home opener here very shortly. But first, you actually were in Chicago for the season opener against the Bears. And so I'm just a little curious to know, like, how that went for you. Obviously, it was a little miserable with the rain and whatnot, and I'm sure you have stories about that. But as far as, like, the Niners go in that game, like, what did you see out there in Chicago from the 49ers?
It was great being in Chicago for the season opener. I think as the fans were in attendance watching that, we got to see two separate games. And what I mean by that is the first, half and parts of the third quarter were dominated by the San Francisco 49ers. And then things just started to get away from us and started to crumble really on the defensive side. Things really changed once, Dante Pettis scored on us, and
even Kyle Shanahan said that was like the turning point of the game.
Yes, it was a blown coverage, 51-yarder, and from that point on, the momentum shifted, right? The crowd got into it. Justin Fields got confidence. And then the defense just didn't look like that top-rated defense that we saw in the first half. And so what I mean by two different halves is one half the Niner dominated, and then the second half the Bears took over and dominated. So very unfortunate that we left Chicago with a loss. And to top it off, for the fans that were there, the rain came down hard on us. It was terrible being in the stands watching that game. But yeah, the losing and hopping on the flight back to the Bay Area, after a loss it's the worst feeling as a fan. when you go to these road games. And we're hoping for a bounce back next week, tomorrow. But yeah, tough loss over in Chicago.
Do you feel like you have somewhat of a more like negative perspective to the game? I mean, obviously, like we all kind of have a negative feeling towards the game because it was a loss, right? But like, do you feel like just the fact that you were downpoured on and like it was kind of miserable from that aspect that you kind of, feel even more down on this game and how it went down?
Definitely. I think anytime when you're at the game kind of hurts a little bit more, right? When you're at home, there's a lot more distraction, right,
Yeah.
around you where you could very easily forget about it. Um, Walking out of a stadium after a loss, like heads are down, and you're hearing the crowd give it to you. The Chicago, the fan base there, they're excited, they're happy. I will say this though, the Chicago fans were very nice, very friendly.
Chicago's a great city.
The Chicago crowd, welcomed us very,
That's good.
very well into the stadium. But yeah, being there and having the downpour that we got there late in the fourth quarter, man, it was rough. I told this, I posted this, and I told this to my friends, but it was the worst Niner game that I've ever attended. Because
And he's been to like the Super Bowl.
Like
he went to the Super Bowl loss.
I was in New Orleans when the Niners lost to the Baltimore Ravens, Super Bowl 47. I walked out of that stadium with it felt like someone punched me in the gut. But by far, week 1 last week was the worst Niner game that I've ever attended. And I think that speaks volumes when you say, I was actually at the Super Bowl that they lost, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a tough one, Steph. I'm not going to lie.
Well, we have a question here from Callie. How did Hufanga look in person? Other than that Pettis breakdown, Huff was amazing. So what did you think of Huff? Because I know everyone, like all of us who watched on TV, we saw the plays he was making. Like, how was it for you watching him from the stands?
He was everywhere.
Yes.
He was everywhere. He had a nose for the ball. And he was in the secondary. He was in the up on the line. You could tell that he definitely took a jump from last year to this year because I don't know what his offseason regimen looked like, or if he's dedicated himself to watching film, but you could tell he definitely looked like a different player out there. I loved what I saw from him, and to be honest with you, a lot of the breakdown on the defensive side didn't come from the safeties. It didn't come from Hufanga. I saw a lot of breakdowns from the linebackers, but Hufanga was great. I loved what I saw in week 1 from Hufanga.
Well, I'll clarify just really quickly because on the Pettis touchdown, it was actually Hufanga who was on Pettis, and because it looked like Justin Fields was about to start scrambling, Hufanga came up to
Gotcha,
try to make a play on Fields, which had he just stayed, that's probably just ends up being a 20-yard maybe field scramble instead of a Pettis touchdown. But I'm with you. Like besides all of that, I think he was really great, and I feel like D'Amico Ryans probably handed it to him for the Pettis touchdown. So definitely a lesson learned, not just for him but like the entire defense. So I would expect that his coverage overall would improve over time. But I see everything that you saw as well. And as far as like his his offseason and how he's prepared, from last season to this season and the jump that we've seen so far. I mean, everyone talks about the fact that he trains with Palomalu, and so that he gets comparisons to him quite a lot.
I like that.
But yeah, I mean, D'Amico Ryans also said he's more vocal. Like you see him out there, he's like talking to the linebackers, he's talking to the rest of the defense, and so that's always great to see. So yeah, I mean, Hufanga is definitely someone I think we're all really excited for in year 2, obviously making a jump from what it looked like in week 1. Callie also has another question. Was the Chicago food yay or nay? Did you get a chance to try some of that pizza?
Yay. It's a yay. Went to a nice steakhouse, Chicago cut steakhouse, Saturday evening. And Sunday after the game, we actually went to Giordano's, I believe it's called.
That's a deep dish pizza.
Deep,
Yeah.
popular
I went to that
Giordano's,
one.
yeah,
Went
popular
before.
deep dish pizza. The line was maybe about 45 to 60-minute wait, but it was worth it. It was worth it. That actually, brought a smile to our face after the loss, after all the rain.
I would think so. We needed some
little
food
deep dish pizza definitely cheered us
to
up.
cheer you up for sure.
Yes, it did.
All right. Well, I know that you also wanted to discuss, a video or just like your experience again, like seeing the team, but also the dynamic between Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, because this was, it's human curiosity to want to see like how this actually looks in person, like, and try to get some vibes from it. I have no doubt that like the locker room is, okay with all of this, but from the fan perspective, like, how did you see this on last Sunday in Chicago? Was it strange to see?
You know what? Pre-game, like all eyes and my full attention was on Jimmy G and Trey Lance, right? I think the drama of the offseason and going into week one, it kind of bubbled around these two guys.
Yeah.
So my full attention during pregame was Jimmy G and Trey Lance. And you know what? It was kind of one of those things that you were kind of like, is this really happening? Or, is Jimmy G still here?
Yeah.
Are these two guys actually on the field for week one, getting together and getting, warming up together? Like it had that feeling, because we didn't think we would still be seeing Jimmy G in a Niner, uniform. And we didn't think that he'd be the backup on our team at this point, right? So I will say this. For those that were there in attendance, I got the opportunity to see both of these guys warming up, high-fiving everyone before the game. I will say this. Jimmy G looked very comfortable, at pre-game and even during the game. He looked comfortable. He looked like he was in his zone, right? Like pre-game, like he looked like he was the leader. It looked like he was the starter. Like he was going through all the preparations as if he was the leader. And so looking at it, it was kind of weird, because you're looking at him and you think he's the starting quarterback, which is not the case. But he still prepared and he still went through the motions as if he was the guy.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I was talking to my brother about this, a little earlier, and I was like, I just feel like it's going to take Trey Lance some time to feel like he's the lead. Like, obviously he's the leader, but like to actually become a little more vocal and like feel like not just that he's a leader, but that also the team is following and rallying behind him. I think that's going to take some time, and I think that's going to come through, winning some games, right? Winning here cures everything, as they say. And so I think that'll definitely come with time. I obviously he's still unproven, and I don't know that we can really take much, if anything, from that week one performance, because they played in such poor conditions. So I think it's going to be a growing process, not just for Trey Lance, but the entire team to like, just start to rally behind Trey Lance. I mean, of course it's great. And I'm not surprised that Jimmy Garoppolo is still, carries himself like a leader, because that was the one thing that, if nothing else, it was Jimmy G who was always praised for being the leader.
Right. One thing that was missing, though, I will say this, is the traditional "let's go," right? Like Jimmy running out of the tunnel, running into the end zone and kind of pump fisting in and saying "let's go." That was not there week one. He didn't do that. So.
And so another thing, and that's good, like, right? Like, he's not the leader. You don't need to be doing that anymore. Another thing I noticed was before the game, Fred Warner broke down the huddle, which is not surprising, right? That's usually something Fred Warner does historically on the 49ers. Actually, it's always been like the linebackers, right? The alphas. But you see Jimmy G like way outside, like with the special teams, some of these special teams guys, like, so to me, I think he knows his place
Yeah.
on this team, and I that's a positive, right? And so while I feel like it's obviously still weird, it's still an adjustment. I mean, you even admitted that it was weird seeing Jimmy Garoppolo out there. I can't imagine that it wasn't a little weird as well for the team for him to like still be around after, Jimmy Garoppolo said his goodbyes and
Right.
all of that.
Yeah.
Like, so I know they try to like downplay it a little bit, but it's got to be a little weird. I mean, these guys are human after all, and the human element of all this is not talked about enough. But it's like I said, it's positive to see that
Right.
Jimmy Garoppolo hanging back.
Yep.
He knows what he needs to do. I would assume Trey Lance was somewhere towards the middle here, but
Yeah, you're right. I think, like you said, he understands the lane, right? He understands the lane that he's going to be in this year, his role, his responsibility to the team. Good observation there that you said that he took a step back, right, to let Fred Warner be the leader, but then to also let Trey Lance be within the middle of that, rally, I guess, or as they got ready to break down for prior to the start of the game. Good observation there. I think he knows when to step back and let Trey do Trey.
Yeah.
And then he knows when to step in and give the high fives and give the pats on the back, right? Like a leader should.
Mm-hmm.
So good observation there.
And I also think like and Trey Lance has also said, and also like I think Kyle and Sean are banking on this too, that like Jimmy G with his experience will be able to help Trey Lance out if there's something that Trey doesn't see that maybe Jimmy Garoppolo would see, and he can like help him out on the sidelines and things like that. The AG Fox says Jimmy G being around is like getting divorced, getting remarried, but your ex still lives in the spare bedroom. Super freaking weird. I love that analogy because I mean that's about
that analogy. Yeah,
that's about as close as you can put it. Pretty much, it is. Definitely.
Well, remember my analogy from the last pod we had was it's like that prom date that says no to you, and then you see that same person with someone else at prom, and you're kind of weird, like, right? So
weird.
My analogy kind of went in a different direction, but it's very close.
It's very similar
to AG Fox. That's a funny one.
Yeah. Javier here says Super Bowl window is closing. I don't think the players are willing to wait. I'm thinking how they feel about it. I mean, it's only week 1, right? Or it's at this point we're in week 2. And the team lost the first game, and so naturally there's this feeling of doom and gloom, right? That things are gonna just continue to tumble from here. But it's it's only one game into the season, and I understand that if some players were like, oh, well, Jimmy G may have won that game. No, also no, he wouldn't have. I don't think under those conditions it would have been a much different game had Jimmy Garoppolo been out there. But, I think so if the 49ers continue to lose, which I hate speaking in like hypotheticals and things like that, but obviously if they continue to lose, then there is that risk, right? And this is the risk that the 49ers knew, but they pretty much just said, we trust our locker room, or our guys can handle this. But obviously, I mean, if Trey Lance loses a bunch of games, there's an opportunity. Not an opportunity, but there's a chance that things can go south in the locker room, and things can get divided and kind of weird, because yes, this is a Super Bowl roster, and nobody wants to wait. And so like I think there's a lot of pressure on Trey Lance to learn and improve quickly.
For sure. I think there's pressure on everyone, from the head coach to the front office, definitely from Trey Lance. Pressure is on everyone, but it's very early right now in the season to kind of gauge. We can't overreact. It's still we're going into week 2. The Rams lost, the Cardinals lost. Let's not panic. Let's kind of wait this out, give it some time, and even if we lose tomorrow and start 0-2, I think we still gotta know that the foundation of this team is the defense, right? It's not so much the quarterback position, it's the defense. So as long as the defense continues to improve and stays healthy, we have to hope for the best and know that they're going to be a contender, down the road. So we're trying to keep it positive, keep
absolutely.
it very optimistic here, and wait it out a little bit. We can't make judgment after one game, especially when that fourth quarter was just terrible weather conditions.
That one game, like, you
Terrible.
gotta throw it away.
Terrible
Like,
weather conditions.
It's unfortunate that we're so excited for the season, and then week one is like a throwaway game. Like, you can't really judge the team off that too much. So, very difficult.
One thing to note, and I wrote these notes down. Niners led time of possession. Niners won the first down battle. Niners won the total yards battle. Niners won the red zone visits battle. The one part that hurt was the penalties, right? And that was something that for those that watched the game, that was the one that hurt. But they led in every one of those other categories. If they stay consistent and continue to win the time of possession, the total yards, the first downs, red zone visits, we'll be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you mentioned, like the defense, right? If they just uphold their end of the bargain, keep away from the silly mistakes that are going to keep you on the field, and especially on third downs and critical downs like that, then Trey Lance should be fine. And that's why the team felt so good about letting Trey Lance take the reins and being able to learn on the fly, and at the same time the 49ers being able to win. I know week one wasn't the outcome we had hoped for, but again, like you said, there's a lot of pressure on the defense too, because that's really what I think this team, the defense is going to balance Trey Lance's lows. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
exactly.
Yeah, I think that's really important going forward, and especially in week two. And let's just jump right into week two right now. I mean, 49ers going up against the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks historically, as we know, have had the 49ers number.
Yes.
Pete Carroll always has something up his sleeve. But the Seahawks team is looking a lot different than last year now, with Russell Wilson in Denver and Geno Smith, the starting quarterback for Seattle now. But I would say he looked pretty good, actually.
He did.
On Monday against the Broncos. So, I mean, how do you feel about this game?
Like a friend texted me, he said he looked very Jimmy G-like.
Oh, no. But you know what? He did.
He did look. Those were Jimmy G numbers,
Yes. Not just that. It was the perfect, like, Jimmy G game script.
Yes.
It was very dink and dunk.
Yes.
Get the ball out quickly.
Running game.
Efficient.
Yep.
Right, running game. I mean,
ball control.
But I have to think, if there's anyone who will know how to defend this, it has to be Kyle Shanahan, right? It's like he pretty much like had the same offensive philosophy for Jimmy Garoppolo as well. So like I would think the 49ers might be able to have an advantage there to know how to stop it. For one, I think you have to force the Seahawks to be one-dimensional.
Right.
And to do that, you have to, stop the run game, and then force Geno Smith to throw. And so the secondary has to be on their game, which I think they will be, as well as the pass rush, obviously, which, again, I think they will be. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, how this shakes out on Sunday.
Yeah. Definitely. I think anytime the 49ers and the Seahawks get together, you got to throw out the records, right? It's always
so true.
It's always dogfight with these guys, and like you said, there's history there where Pete Carroll knows us. He knows our playbook almost in a sense, because they're always prepared when they come in and play us, especially here at Levi's. They definitely have had our numbers during the Pete Carroll era. We hope again that the defense definitely steps up. to me, that's the key tomorrow is the defense stepping up and making sure that, they force those 3 and outs and that we win the time of possession battle. Don't give Geno Smith any confidence because he's one of those guys. He's been in this league long enough, right?
Yeah.
But he's one of those guys that if he continues to get confidence through the game from quarter to quarter,
he's like a tempo guy kind of.
Yes. And so that's one thing that we got to do is really get him uncomfortable, put pressure on him, make him make bad decisions. Sounds cliche, right? But still, like, let's be honest. Like, if the defense shows up tomorrow and puts pressure on Geno Smith and gets him out of his game and uncomfortable, I think we have a good opportunity of getting this W.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it as well from the defensive standpoint. But also from the offense, right? I mean, obviously we can figure that the offense is going to have a better game, albeit it's supposed to rain tomorrow as well, unfortunately. But it's not going to rain as much as it did in Chicago, and so I don't think the rain is going to have quite as big of an impact, if any impact, on the game and how it's played tomorrow. Callie here says, win versus Seattle, I guarantee you the players will be behind Trey. Relax.
I love
and
that.
Winning,
I love that confidence.
Winning is
Callie.
the ultimate deodorant. And it's so true. I mean, like, no one's gonna, be on Trey Lance's neck or have any, negative opinions on him if the 49ers come out with a win, regardless of how he plays. In fact, that's how Jimmy Garoppolo was able to gain the trust of, the 49ers defense, because they win games. I know that QB wins is like a joke, but like players on the team, like if they win, they don't care how Jimmy Garoppolo played to an extent, right? Like they just know that Jimmy Garoppolo got them wins, right? Yeah. That's all they know. So yeah, if Trey Lance can get this team a win, I think it's gonna, one, shut all the outside media narratives up. I mean, there's plenty of negative talk about Trey Lance out there. And so I think, the 49ers definitely need this win to just kind of get that monkey off of their back. All of this, talk and distractions from the off season. They just need to like put it behind them. And I think they can do that with a win here tomorrow against the Seahawks.
Let me ask you this, Steph. What's your goal? You're at the game tomorrow. We got some good seats. What are you looking for tomorrow? Like, what's the one thing you really want to focus on tomorrow, between the white lines and then also just on the sidelines? What are you looking for?
So a couple of things that I mentioned, like in my preview episodes this week was, and I think I also tweeted this. So I'm looking at Nick Bosa and his matchup against the rookie left tackle Charles Cross, Seahawks first round pick this season, who had a pretty bad showing in week 1 against the Broncos
versus Chubbs, right? I think he went up against Chubbs.
It was Chubbs.
Yeah.
Who's a great
Chubbs had a great game.
He's a great edge.
Yeah.
And so is Nick Bosa, right?
Right.
So unfortunately for Charles Cross, he's getting, quite the gauntlet right out the bat, right out the gate.
Yeah, he is.
And for Nick Bosa, this is his second week going up against a rookie left tackle. In week 1 against the Bears, he was going up against Braxton Jones. He did get a sack. He would have probably had more, I think, if, like, again, just had better footing out there.
Yeah.
But,
finished with 1 sack week 1.
Yeah. So for Nick Bosa, I would think that he has a better performance in this game against Charles Cross. And again, like I said, Cross had a bad game in week 1. It could have maybe just been the first week jitters, but it's not going to get any easier in week 2 for him. So that's a matchup that I'm definitely going to be paying attention to, and one that I think favors the 49ers. So if it doesn't, I'll be very disappointed. Another one is, so I think there's an opportunity that we see Brandon Ayuk have a breakout game. We've been hyping up the Brandon Ayuk train, all off season, and the chemistry that he has with Trey Lance. Yeah. Obviously, we didn't get to see that in week 1, right?
2 receptions, 40 yards. Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't get to see that, quite as much as we wanted to. The rain limitations, all that. So I think this is a real opportunity to be able to see that chemistry, in this game finally. And I think the matchup is favorable for Ayuk for some of these guys. I know Justin Coleman, the Seahawks slot corner, he was declared out for this game. So it'll be either Sidney Jones or a rookie, Kobe Bryant, that would get the start as the slot corner. So that's an opportunity right there,
Right.
either for Debo, Ray McLeod. They're
Jamal Adams is out too. Let's not forget about that.
Oh yeah, of
Huge
course.
loss.
That
Huge loss for the Seahawks. He's the heart and soul of that defense. One of the premier safeties in the NFL, and for them not to have that leader, he's everywhere. He's a guy that's in the backfield. He's up at the line, applies pressure pretty much, from side to side. So without Jamal Adams, you would think that the 49er wide receivers would have a big day, like you're saying, maybe a breakout day for Brandon Ayuk. So, yeah, I like those two people we're going to be focusing on tomorrow. Bosa on the defense, Brandon Ayuk on the offense. I'll be definitely paying attention to these guys and hoping for some good results tomorrow.
So, and there's also a couple of underlying, storylines, I guess, going into this game. George Kittle, he missed most of practice this week. He practiced Friday on a limited basis. He was listed as questionable on the injury report, and Kyle Shanahan said he's going to be a game time decision. So how much do you think George Kittle not being out there in week 1 impacted, this team, and how much would it hurt for him to miss week 2 as well?
Oh, big time. George Kittle, one of the premier tight ends in the league. Put aside what he does catching the ball. He is probably the best run block tight end in the game.
Mm-hmm.
He does so much for us during our running plays. Not having him out there really hurt us.
Yeah.
It really did hurt us. It took an offensive weapon away from us. And then you really kind of saw a different offensive team once Mitchell went down.
Yes.
So when you don't have Kittle and then you don't have Mitchell, our offense really struggled with both of those, two people out. And so, not having Kittle, if he's not a go for tomorrow, it really hurts our offense a lot, and as a fan, I worry because, we already lost Mitchell. He's going to be out, I believe, for 7 or 8 weeks.
Yeah.
He's on IR.
At least.
And if we don't have Kittle, then the defense is going to kind of shift their attention to Debo and to Ayuk. We're not able to spread the ball and spread the defense around, if Kittle's not there. So crossing our fingers that Kittle does play tomorrow. Man, I really do hope that we see Kittle out there. I'm going to be wearing my Kittle number 85 tomorrow.
Are you?
By the way.
For
yes.
good juju. Okay.
Yes,
all right.
I will.
I'll be wearing my Debo jersey.
Okay.
So hopefully that gives some
offense.
that. Yes. And like I said, I think it's going to be a better game for this offense. They absolutely need it. And I think we saw good flashes from Trey Lance, in week 1. He made some nice throws when given the opportunity.
Yeah.
And you know what? Danny Gray, I think, is going to be active for this game. Who wasn't active in week 1 because why do you need a deep threat in the rain, right? So he's going to be active, and I would hope and, actually assume that, they try to go deep with him, maybe once or twice in this game. I mean, you mentioned the fact that Jamal Adams isn't there. They're not going to have the same kind of help on the back end that they usually do. And also, like I mentioned, these corners, let's say, Danny Gray matches up with the slot corner, who's going to be the backup slot corner, right? I mean, that could potentially lead to some mismatches. So, I feel pretty good. And going back to the George Kittle discussion, when I was previewing this matchup between the 49ers offense and the Seahawks defense, I also feel like their linebackers, they're solid, but they also gave up a lot of receptions in week 1 to the Broncos tight ends. And so again, I feel like that's a weakness. Obviously, George Kittle against the average linebacker is going to be a mismatch. And so I think that's something, again, like, he needs to be out there. I really hope that he will be.
Yeah.
But
It definitely changes the game.
Yeah.
Like it adds another layer to our offense, and again, it spreads out the defense. But I think his impact is felt more when it comes to the run schemes that Kyle loves to run. I think Kittle's missed more when it comes to the run blocking more than anything.
Yeah.
And I think he enjoys that. He's one of those guys that loves to work in the trenches and get pancake a guy, right? Like he lives for those moments.
He does.
He brings that energy and loves to lay guys out, and him along with
Trent Williams.
Trent Williams, as well as our fullback. Juszczyk. That trio right there is just dynamic, right? So it would really hurt us if he's not there. Let's take a quick look over here though at some of these comments. I like what 49er media.
I was gonna,
and Callie here showing me some love. Appreciate you guys. Love the comments, 49er media and Callie Young. Hey, it's a pleasure to be next to my sister here. And I'm not gonna lie, her knowledge of 49er football and football in general now has gone above my knowledge now. But thank you guys for the shout outs here and for the love that you guys are showing here on the comment thread here.
Yeah, he loves this stuff. He's the one that got me into football originally, so like most of my knowledge came from him to begin with. So yeah, I love doing these. We're gonna have to get you like a laptop set up because the
live from the man cave.
Yeah, the only times that we're able to do these is like when I'm in town in the Bay Area. So we need to get them set up with like a laptop, so then we can have you on the lives more regularly, because I would also love that. And we got our sister over here showing some love. Hey. What's going on, Tati? So yeah, this is awesome right now. And 49ers media over here said Schefter's doing his late night tweets right now, and as you know, the late night tweets are infamous for saying who's going to be active, and nothing about George Kittle quite yet. So I'll keep refreshing, and as soon as I see something about Kittle, I'll let you guys know. But we talked about Elijah Mitchell potentially being out in this game, and obviously like that's a big underlying storyline to this too. We mentioned the fact that the running game was not as effective in the second half once he wasn't in there. And so obviously Jeff Wilson Jr. I think is still going to be the the immediate next man up, but from there I think is the question mark, right? We're still looking forward to seeing who's going to be that next guy. 49ers media said he's excited to watch TDP. Callie Young says Jordan Mason is someone he's going to be looking at. I know Jordan Mason's a fan favorite. Yeah. So
that's actually a good point, you guys, because it's a good point, because I asked you the question, what are going to be the people or the players that you focus on tomorrow, but let's focus on the running backs too, right? On that situation. Most likely it's going to be running back by committee, but it's a good point that you guys are pointing out, Callie and 49er media, is let's watch these trio of running backs and see how they do, and let's see if one kind of leapfrogs, right, and steps into that starting role. So that's a good one. I will definitely keep an eye on the running back situation and see how our running game does. Trey Lance needs a strong running game. Like he needs someone to be able to take that pressure and that load off his back. We can't throw the ball every single down, right? So we need to be able to move down the field by running the ball. So that missing Mitchell, it's a big loss for us, big loss. But hopefully someone steps up, from that trio of running backs and really kind of carries us, because we're going to need that tomorrow.
And one thing I wanted to point out, I know no one has mentioned Marlon Mack in the comments, but just so you guys are aware, so Marlon Mack, he was signed to the practice squad earlier this week. The 49ers didn't have a running back on their practice squad, so he kind of fills a need, not just on the practice squad, but should anything happen to the other guys, obviously with Mitchell out, they need an extra running back. So Marlon Mack, he was signed to the practice squad. However, he was not elevated to this week to be on the active roster. So he's not going to be active on Sunday. So yes, it's going to be Jeff Wilson Jr., Ty Davis Price, and Jordan Mason.
I love Marlon Mack.
I like him too.
Yeah.
I like him too.
Marlon Mack, I believe it was maybe 2 years ago, had like a killer season. And the only reason I know that is because I had him on my fantasy team. But no, I do love Marlon Mack though. Yeah. I know. Last year he had a injury that took him out for the rest of the year. So this is a comeback season for him.
Yeah.
Hoping that we get to see him down the road because if he's anywhere what he used to be back in the 2020 or 2019 season, I think he's going to be a good fit on this team.
Yeah, I agree. And 49ers Media says I think he will be active next week since he just signed this week, and yeah, that's very possible. So I could also see that happening because Marlon Mack gives you that experience. We talked about TDP and Jordan Mason, both rookies. So you want to have another veteran out there as well who can help these guys out. And there's a lot of talk about Debo as well as, obviously he has a wide back role. That wasn't going to change this year, even before Elijah Mitchell injury, right? Like Debo was going to continue to get some carries. But now that Mitchell's hurt, like, what do you think we see out of Debo Samuel? I mean, do you like the wide back role for Debo and how much they use him as a wide back? Like, how do you feel about all that?
I do. Debo Samuel, eight rushes, 52 yards in week 1. He's the Swiss Army knife, right? And if he's capable of running the ball and moving the chains, which he constantly does, he's consistent, right? So why go away from that? You asked me if I like it. I love it. I think he's a bruiser. He's hard to bring down, and defensive backs, safeties, they're afraid to go head up with this guy.
He tackles them.
Yes. So he is not afraid of contact. He's hard to bring down. It mixes things up, because if you're on the defense, you don't know who's going to get the ball. Is it going to be Juice? Is it going to be, Trey Lance maybe taking off and running and scrambling? Is it going to be Debo? Kyle Smart, he's intelligent when it comes to how he utilizes Debo Samuel. So we saw the full Debo show and what he's capable of last year. Oh my God, in that Dallas Cowboys game during the playoffs. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was full throttle with Debo, right?
Calling for the ball.
Yeah, he got into the end zone. He got him that crucial first down late in the game. So I love Debo Samuel. Like to me, he's the heart of the offense. Mm-hmm. Like Fred Warner is the heart of the defense. Give the guy the ball, like he wanted a big contract. He got it. Make him earn it now, like give the guy the ball. And by Debo Samuel running it takes the pressure off of Trey Lance, which is what you want to do.
Yeah.
This is only Trey Lance's second start, right? This year. So you want to be able to take that pressure off of Trey Lance, give it to the veteran Debo, let him bruise the secondary up, and who knows, man, he may take one to the house tomorrow. So I know you'll be wearing your Debo jersey for good juju. So hopefully we get a Debo touchdown tomorrow. We did in week 1. Yeah, we were up 7-0 at the time. So yeah, man, I want more Debo. Give me more Debo.
More Debo. Debo. Yeah. So I mean, obviously, Debo is going to be, more involved. Do you wonder, or like, does it worry you that defenses, now that they've had an off season to prepare for Debo Samuel, like they expect it now, they've had an offseason to study Debo
Yeah.
and see how they can, defend against him. Do you feel like defenses are going to start to really key in on that? And if they see him in the backfield, I mean, it's kind of a giveaway of what's going to happen, right? Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I feel like in week one, you kind of did see that the defense was more prepared for it. I believe I even texted you. I don't know if it was during the game or after the game, but I mentioned it to you and said that the Bears were ready for it. Yeah, they were ready for the Debo packages. But regardless of that, right? You gotta still make note. He had 8 rushes for 52 yards. He moved the chains. He also scored when they were in the red zone. So he's still successful. There's still a success rate there, and you want to stick with the guy that's gonna get yardage, right? You do the math. Like the guy is averaging about about what 7 yards, 6 to 7 yards per rush. And again, he continues to move the chains and continues to take the pressure off of Trey Lance, which is what you want to do. No Kittle in the lineup in week one, so continue using them. But to answer your question, yes, the defenses, I think they're kind of more prepared. They've done their film on Debo. They know it's coming, right? They know these packages are coming. So you will see, defenses more prepared and ready to stop the Debo runs.
But on that note, I think, you mentioned that Kyle Shanahan is really smart. He's obviously very creative, and he does a good job of adjusting, right? Maybe not so much in game, but like, he's able to adjust over time and in the following games and things like that. And so like 49ers media here says, I wonder why Ayuk doesn't really get the end arounds. Ayuk actually had the first carry, like I think it was the very first snap on offense was Ayuk getting a carry, which was a new wrinkle, right? Like, I mean, I think he might have gotten the ball in the backfield.
Well, here's the thing with Ayuk that's different from Debo. Ayuk doesn't have the body to take the hits, right? Yeah. Debo is more of the bruiser, right? Yeah. So you don't really want to put Ayuk out there to carry the ball 5, 6, 7, 8 times like Debo does. You want to keep Ayuk healthy, right? Oh, yeah. So, if like you said, he did have a rush early on there in the Bears game, but he's a fast guy, but you want to be able to utilize the guy that has more of the running back body because he's able to take the hits. And I think that strategically, Kyle prefers to go with Debo versus Ayuk because you don't want to injure Ayuk. Ayuk, also does some special teams from here and there, right? He does some punts for us as well. So he gets his yardage, from the special teams side of the football. So no, man, I'm a Debo guy. Give it a Debo. Keep giving the ball to Debo.
Yeah, and then Dawson over here says, I wonder if Shanahan will eventually try Gray back there as a wide back just because of that speed, a la Raheem Mostert, right? I mean, I think sometimes like this offense definitely misses Raheem Mostert to an extent, who, by the way, didn't have a big role with the Dolphins, at least in week one. Yeah, so it's like, damn, man, like they're not even using him that much. So I mean, that's obviously also a possibility, but to Fabio's point, I mean, you don't want to have all of your receivers, taking carries and taking unnecessary hits. So it just makes more sense, I think, for Debo to play that role just because he's literally built for it, figuratively and literally. But did you notice the triple option that they ran? So it was Lance and then Debo, I think, was to his right, and I think this was before Elijah Mitchell got hurt, so it must have been in the first half. They ran a triple option, so Debo was to Trey Lance's right, and then he runs across. Trey Lance faked the handoff. I think it was to Debo, and then Trey Lance kept it and then ran over to his right.
I believe I remember that
with Mitchell. And at the mesh point, he tossed it over to Mitchell.
That's right. It was a productive play. Yeah. It got him yardage. I think eventually Mitchell ran out of space, and so he ran out of bounds. I think again, it's Kyle trying to be creative, trying to keep the defense guessing. Mm-hmm. There was a play later in the game. This was in the second half where he just ran Trey Lance right up the middle. I don't really like those. I'm not a fan of those
Me either.
because
Unless it's a sneak.
yeah,
A sneak is fine.
Sneak is different. I think they were in a shotgun formation, and he just took the quarterback, right up the middle. And I don't like those because I think you're putting your quarterback, your starting quarterback, in jeopardy of an injury. So to me, I like them using Trey, in run options, but not up the middle because you're gonna have a safety or a linebacker that's just gonna tee off on him, and he's gonna go out and get injured, and um, you know, Jimmy G's gonna have to come in, which is not a bad thing,
No
but
one wants
we don't
that.
want our starting quarterback to go out on a play like that,
Yeah,
right
no,
up the middle.
no.
So yeah, hopefully Kyle can stay strategic, use trick play, but keep it on the on the out. Don't run it up the middle with Trey Lance. We don't want to see that.
And going back to the triple option really quick, I just feel like that's a great way to sort of counter the focus that the defense was putting on Debo, because like I said, they see Debo
That's
back
right.
there, they're like,
That's
oh,
right.
this is a Debo run. So that was a great
Yeah.
way to counter it. Look, we
Right.
got 3 guys who could get the ball on this play. Take your pick.
Right.
And so, honestly, I felt like the Bears actually defended that one
They did
pretty
Yeah,
well.
They did.
But there's gonna be other defenses who probably get fooled by something like that and don't do as good of a job. But someone here said, 49ers media said, I hope we will get to see Lance actually get into rhythm, because last week that wasn't the case because of the weather. And then I recall one of the other comments that we had, I couldn't really find it, but it was either from Dawson or 49ers media saying that this is Trey Lance's second consecutive start since college.
I saw that.
How much?
I did see, yeah.
How much of that do you think that plays into what we've seen from Trey Lance so far, that he's only gotten these spot starts to this point, and this is his first time to really, take what he's learned and, apply it immediately.
Gain momentum, from one game to the next. It is what it is, right? I think it's just part of being second-year quarterback, part of being inexperienced. His situation is a little different because he didn't play his last year of college, right? He missed a lot of time, and so it's not your typical rookie or second-year quarterback that had a college season where he played 12 straight games, right? Or 11 games, whatever, however long the college season is. It's a different dynamic with Trey, which is also kind of what worries some of the faithful, because we don't know what to expect, because
no one does,
right?
Yeah.
Because we didn't see a full college season,
Mhm.
So right now it's kind of like an experiment,
Mhm.
It's like the second date experiment. You really don't know what you're gonna get, and you're hoping for the best. And but that's an interesting topic to discuss. That I don't know who brought it up earlier, but yeah, this is his first back-to-back start as a quarterback. Scary to think that you're in your second year of the NFL, and this is the first time where you have the first back-to-back start. And it sucks for Trey because both of these games it's gonna rain. It downpoured in week 1, and we're looking at a 50% chance tomorrow for rain in Santa Clara. So it's just bad luck for him because he's gonna have to play both of those games in pretty bad weather conditions.
Yeah. And I think to that point, not the weather, but just the fact that, he doesn't have a lot of experience in the NFL. I think that's a reason why we preach the patience, right, with Trey Lance. Obviously, he needs the time. He needs the snaps. He's not going to learn if he doesn't get the snaps. So I'm very pro letting Trey Lance play it out, and I am confident that he's going to come out the other end and be a better quarterback
Yeah.
at the end of it. So, we just got to be patient
For sure,
and
for sure.
give him that opportunity.
For sure, definitely.
Because there's people out there who are like, oh, if the 49ers start 0-2, they need to go back to Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah,
And I strongly disagree with that, just because, I feel like we need to give him a chance.
Yeah.
You can't, use invest all of these picks in him and then only give him, two
Yeah.
consecutive games
Yeah.
to prove that he's improved, right? So yes, I'll continue to preach patience with Trey Lance, and I really do feel like this week 2 game is going to be a better game for him. And I think he'll come away.
Maybe the next
surprising us.
time we go to a game together, one of us will have a Trey Lance jersey. Who knows, right?
I do need to get one, I think, but I still want to see, I want to see more.
I'm with you. I still want to see a little bit more before I commit to a Trey Lance jersey. My next jersey though, I do want a Bosa.
That's a
97. That's definitely
a good one.
That's the next jersey that I want to get for the 49ers. But Trey Lance, TBD for now.
TBD. All right, that's okay. Bosa, I don't think I've ever had a defensive player's jersey, like from all the few jerseys I've had.
Have you not? I think Willis. No?
I never had Willis.
I did have a Willis 52, which is actually in that picture that we have from our 2011 game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good times.
So I need to get a Bosa, I think. Maybe that's the next one for me.
So,
we're going to end it right here. We've been live for like an hour. Guys, a lot of you.
How about the 9 o'clock?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Let's
you want to intro this?
Yeah, let's segue into again, for those that happen to watch our first tour of the man cave. It's out on Steph's
channel. That was about like August that we filmed that.
It was a tour of the man cave here, and one of the items that caught my sister's attention and I was the Joe Montana watch that clock that you see in the back right there.
Oh my god,
it's right there. But she loved it. She fell in love with it and was just like, hey, tell me about this clock, in her exact words, right? So as a birthday gift, tell him, Steph, what you got for your birthday this year from your big bro.
He got me one of the clocks, and I'll take it out of the plastic so it doesn't glare, but look at it. I loved this clock. Like, this is so dope to me. Like, look at this. It's so like old school and just I mean, I think it just
Danbury Mint. They make figurines as well. That was a production from 1992. And of course, it's Joe Montana, the GOAT, right? Greatest 49er of all time. So it was a birthday gift to my sister, which most likely will be hanging in her office.
My new streaming corner.
Yeah.
Corner.
There you go.
So I'm very excited to debut this in the streaming corner. I'm going to find a great spot for it.
Callie Young, he loves the clock. He says, there we go.
Yeah,
that's a good way to end it, right?
I love it too. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And so, like we said, we're gonna be at the game tomorrow. If any of you guys are gonna be there and you see us, come say what's up. But yeah, I just hope that we come away, with the win tomorrow, and hopefully it doesn't rain too much.
I know, right? I already caught enough in Chicago last week. Trust me, I don't want to sit in another game with the raincoat on.
Yeah, absolutely. Callie here says Rice is the GOAT, though. They're both the GOATs. I mean, the QB GOAT is Montana, and then
I'm not going to argue with Callie though.
No, I'm not going to argue.
Rice is the true GOAT. You are right, Callie. Rice is the true GOAT. I'm not going to argue with that one.
And thank you, 49er Media, for the birthday shout out. My birthday was like a month ago, actually. It was August 19th. But yeah, since this is we just saw each other since like last month.
I gifted her this afternoon the clock. So yeah.
But all right, guys, we're going to end it right here. And as always, if you are not subscribed to the channel, make sure you are subscribed, and make sure you like this video if you have not yet. And I promise you, we're going to make it a point to try to do, these sister brother collabs more often on the channel. And so stay tuned. And by the way, I have a pretty cool announcement to make that I'm going to be making tomorrow after the game. So stay tuned for that as well. I'll announce that on my Twitter. Yeah, have a good rest of your night. And
Go Niners.
Go Niners.
Let's go.
Peace.